I hit 10K. Saying no to opportunities that you should be saying yes to. Just be prepared to be uncomfortable, but in the best way possible.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I wanted to ask you just a couple questions about because you've been working with Laura now for how long? How long ago did you guys start working together?
Well, we worked together just for a total month, about
Okay.
a month ago.
Okay.
So
Okay.
one on one for a full month.
Okay. And talk to me about how that came to be.
So yeah, I've big fan of Laura for a long time now. I had gone through one of Stefan's 8-week mentorship programs, and I was assigned to her. And from that moment on, just huge fan of Laura. So anytime she would put something out, I was on board. So I believe it was on one of her mindset calls that she was announcing Diamond Day coming up. And it was something I'd always wanted to go to. And my income had started to go up a little bit, but I was at this kind of standstill that I knew that I had a lot more potential, but I just wasn't making the income that I wanted to make. And she said that the first person that bought a Diamond Day ticket would get the VIP pass plus 1 month with her. And I just knew that she would launch me to a new level. So I don't even think the call was over before I had my debit card out and was putting in my number so that I would be guaranteed to be able to work with Laura. So that's how we ended up working one on one together for a month.
That's awesome. So, can I ask you what that investment was on your part?
Yeah, it's $3,000. So
$3,000.
a steal of a deal to get Diamond Day and a month with Laura, as well as some other perks and stuff like that. So it was a no brainer. I mean, it put me in a financial position, I guess, but I knew that the ROI on that investment was just going to be incredible. Because I knew that with Laura's, she would just see, where I was holding myself back. She's just amazing at that, and so I knew that with her assistance and her guidance, that there's no way I couldn't succeed. So
That's awesome. That's, I think, the trickiest part for a lot of people. Like, it sounds like you had already had some mindset breakthroughs because even to $3,000 is not, it's not pennies, right? So to be able to commit to it and so quickly, like you said, pulled out your credit card and raced so that you were the first one there. Did you have any doubts? Were you nervous to plug it in? Like, what was going through your mind?
oh, immediately, because I was like, if this doesn't work out, like I knew that I was in a position where I was afraid my next month wasn't going to be so good, right? So like I'm already making this big investment coming into a month that might not be as good, but fortune favors the bold, or whatever the quote is, and I'm a risk taker. And I guess I had in the back of my mind, I've done being poor before, so I might as well risk it all to make those next jumps. And again, my confidence in Laura and her guidance just from past experiences with her, like I just felt like she was going to see those roadblocks that I wasn't seeing, that I knew was there. I knew I had some mental roadblocks, other roadblocks that were keeping me from reaching where I wanted to go, and that she would help me get there. Like I needed somebody to take my blinders off. And that's one of the things I love about Laura, is that she's super compassionate, but she'll tell you how it is as well, of just like, hey, like she pretty much was like, there, all of the money you want is here. Like you're just leaving it there. You're literally like stomping on it and like leaving it on the floor, and saying no to opportunities that you should be saying yes to. So, and just says it so poignantly and so straightforward, but with like, I'm going to also help you and hold your hand and get you there as well. She doesn't just throw you to the wolves, which again, I respond really well to her tactics. So
It's like that nurturing push.
yes, for sure.
So, and have you been to Diamond Day? Have you been to a Diamond Day event before?
No, I have not. I remember when I first was in the 8-week mentorship with Laura, she was like on the cusp of wanting to do all of this stuff. She like Diamond Day was, I don't know how real it was in her mind, other than like this idea that she wanted to put herself out there more. She was shifting away from Eden Beauty and stuff like that. So she was just on the cusp of it. So like I got to kind of see a transformation in Laura as well. Granted, I didn't know her well prior to that. So, I was just seeing this this new stage that she was stepping into. So it's been really great to see that and to finally be in a position that I could participate in Diamond Day, because it's always been a dream. But no, this will be my first.
That's so exciting. What are you looking most forward to?
All the things I'm looking forward to are also all the things I'm afraid of. Like Whitney, how do you say her last name?
Pursuto. That's how I say it.
All of her testimonials just had me super stoked about the journey that she's gone through, and how Diamond Day was kind of a catalyst for all the big wins she's had. Has me really excited. Like, I don't think I talk to, especially women that aren't just like, Diamond Day is the dream to either be a part of, to participate, to just be in the same room. You just hear amazing things, that Diamond Day is like no other conference or event that anybody's ever attended. So I'm excited about all of that, because I have new, bigger goals than I did before that I'm hoping that Diamond Day will be a catalyst for. Honestly, on the call that I joined on, she spoke about a woman that's going to be there that was like the first woman fighter pilot. And that just, we're going to be besties after this. That just really got me excited. And the caliber of people that Laura draws to her is just extraordinary. And I think that she not only pushes us that mentor under her to greater heights, I think she does that with everybody that comes in contact with her. She brings out the best in people, right? She brings out that, like, I know you're great, but I see the potential to be greater. Like, let's do that. Why don't we do that? And from different angles as well. She tests you in really unique and inspiring angles that just get you so excited about, taking that next step, excited about all of that stuff.
That's so good. You knew that you wanted mentorship. You knew that you wanted to go to Diamond Day. It was like the perfect offer made at the perfect time, even though the investment was a little scary. But let's talk about what happened afterwards. Okay, so you made the payment. Yeah. You committed, you got the first position, you got the coaching. What happened next?
Yeah. So, Laura messaged me immediately and was like, this is awesome. Like, let's jump on a call. And it was like, everything was happening so fast, right? All my fears came up of like, oh my gosh, like, here we go now. And like, Laura's also somebody that I really respect and stuff like that I'm about to air my dirty laundry. Like, here it all is. Please help me. Also, it's a little scary. So we jumped on a call. And of course, Laura's amazing as she always is. And like I said, she was like, I told her, she immediately was like, well, what do you want to get out of this? We have 30 days together. What is your dream outcome? And I knew at the time I wanted to hit 10K. That I fixated on that number. So that's what I had set our goal as. So we started going over like the opportunities I had and where I was and stuff like that. And that's when she was like, yeah, sure. Like, you can do this. Like, it's already right here. Like, I had even, I was wanting to work with Luke on a position that he had kind of pitched towards me. So I was like turning away work because I was hopeful for this. And she was like, what? Like, what are we doing? You can do both of those things. So it was a lot of little things like that I was self-sabotaging and justifying, right? Like, oh, this thing with Luke is such a great opportunity. I don't want to like put anything in the way, when it was just an excuse not to pursue these things that would get me to success. Is scary, right? Like, to get me to my dreams. Like, what does that feel like to actually reach these goals that I've set for myself? So she just helped me work through all of that. And what I love about Laura as well is like, she tells you exactly what to say, but she also positions you so that you don't need her to hold your hand always, right? She's not a mentor that like sets everything up so that you're constantly dependent on her. Although she told me several times that I wasn't allowed to send out messages without her approval first, because I was terrible at it. But I learned so much, and she was constantly reinforcing that of like, write this. Yes, that's great. She would rewrite it completely and be like, look what I did differently, So I was constantly learning and iterating and learning how to speak with clients. And she would send me, any content or courses that she had that would help elevate me onto that. And I did have a lower month that month, which I knew was happening. I lost 2 clients. I knew I didn't lose a client, but I knew my work from them was going to be lower. And then I ended up like kind of losing another client, 2 over the summer. And then the very next month I didn't just invoice 10K, like I collected on the work done 10K and invoiced more. So I was already like halfway to my goal for which would be this month, right? That's always the fear, right? Okay, I hit 10K, but then like, how does this now become my floor as opposed to my ceiling, which is what I'm working on now. But I invoiced beyond 10K. So what I'm calculating now was stuff that came from all the work that I did with Laura. So yeah, like it's just incredible.
I feel like you just breezed right past that. You're like, so then I hit the 10K and then, but it wasn't just, invoiced, it was cash collected and I've invoiced more than that. Like you just blew right past that. So you kind of hinted that there was some inconsistency before you started working with her, and you were also a little nervous. You knew that you were going to be losing clients. So you were already like, this is kind of scary because I'm already kind of projecting that this is going to be a lower month than usual. So tell me about kind of what your income levels were before this, and had you reached a cap, or was it just this complete up and down, or, talk to me about that.
So kind of my journey. So in October, November of last year, I had joined Stefan's Genesis program, which really was kind of the first catalyst I had set some goals for myself and was like, okay, like I don't want to just kind of do copywriting as this thing that maybe brings in enough money that I can live on the road as this dirtbag nomad. Like I want to actually make some money and like that's respectable. And I loved copywriting and I loved everything Stefan put out and stuff like that. So when Genesis came around, I jumped on that. I ended up winning a contest in January through them, and went to the CA event, which was another catalyst. So from about February, I hit, prior to that, 3,500 was like blow it out of the world month, right? Like that was not a consistent thing. That was like, oh, wow, that's like what it feels like to not be poor for a little while. So like that was high, but I would go as low as like 1K some months, right? So it's very like up and down fluctuations. But around February, I think I hit 6K for the first time. And each month I was seeing increases in that up to, I had reached about 8K, I think, when I decided to jump on with Laura. But I knew it might have not been quite 8K. It was around that. And my invoicing is crazy. Like sometimes it's like the money that I'm calculating is for deliverables. Sometimes it's like, well, this is kind of what I've invoiced for. So it's not consistent as to what those numbers actually represent. But I'd reached about 8K, but most of my income was coming from an agency that the two women that owned it were military wives who were both moving at the same time, always have lower work over the summer. We're opening a new offer that meant that they were not taking on as many clients. So it was like this perfect storm of like, they were setting me up of like, hey, it's going to be slow over the summer, which I didn't care that much about because I had this other retainer that was going on. But then like right after hiring Laura, they were like, hey, look, we've taken on some bigger projects, these smaller things we have going on. We just, we don't need you right now. We're going to keep you on the books. Like we'd love to work with you in the future and stuff like that. We just don't have a lot of work now. So it was like this kind of double whammy of like, oh, wow, like this is actually a problem now. It's not just it's going to be light. Like I have to start picking up clients. And one of my big roadblocks is, and I think it is for a lot of people, is when I'm in the work, I convince myself that I'm too busy to do outreach at this time, right? So like I'm not thinking 2 or 3 months ahead. I'm just living in this month. So I knew that was an issue as well. And I'm still working on that, not getting so busy and so fixated on what I'm doing now that I prevent myself from always looking forward. So long answer, I felt confident at the time of reaching 6K consistently, but then I dropped those 2 clients. So that month that I was actually working with Laura, I brought in about 4,500, which was lower than, what I even expected. But then the very next month, I hit 10K, which is crazy because I had a lot going on during that time. So even looking back, I go and look at that number all the time and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like that was 10K. Like I did it. And again, I had so much going on that it reminded me that with better efficiencies and getting past some of my fears that hold me back and cause procrastination and stuff like that, like the potential is there to make infinitely more. And that's not even raising my prices. Like my prices are still not even, I could probably raise my prices to increase that. But yeah, like working with Laura, she just opens up so much of that stuff. I imagine that if I worked with her long term, like the possibilities would be infinite. And she still checks in on me because she's an amazing human being that like we're not even technically working together. And like almost every Sunday she checks in just to see how I'm doing. And of course, when I hit 10K, she was probably the first person that I told, even before I was like, all the numbers look good. Like, I feel like this 10K, I'm scared to like admit it yet. But she was one of the first people I told because she loves celebrating wins with you as well. She's just an amazing human being that I've learned so much from.
That's awesome. I love it so much. So it sounds like you got a mix of mindset, confidence stuff, and also tactics and blueprints and messaging and, that kind of stuff. I know from being mentored by her and attending Diamond Day, you kind of get like this very focused, what you're talking about, like the mindset and the tactics. You get this very focused deliverable on those things at Diamond Day in like 2 days in the room. So for anybody who might be hesitant about the investment, to pay for a ticket, like they're not going to get the individualized coaching like you had, but what might you say to them if they're hesitating about it, about coming to Diamond Day?
Like I said, every interaction I've had with Laura, whether it's like one-on-one or not, has just been phenomenal. Her approach to things is so unique that it opens you up in ways that you could never expect. And like I said, I think she brings that out in everybody around her, just with the questions that she asks and chooses to ask, kind of put you off balance a little bit, but in the best way possible. Like you can't ask a question without her like kind of turning it on you and making you almost have to answer your own question when it's reasonable that you would do something like that. And she's really good about seeing what's going on underneath things. So when you say stuff to her or you're trying to explain what you think is the problem, she's 3 steps ahead of you and like playing against your fears so much better than you even realize. So at Diamond Day, I just can't imagine being in the room and not having amazing changes just from what she has to say, the speakers that she's going to draw to her, and just everything I've heard in the past. I don't think I've heard one single person that was like 98% of those people were like, I don't know how I was going to afford that. Like that was a big expense for me. It wasn't like I'm talking to people that this is just like spare change and they're like, yeah, I don't know, I like Laura, maybe I'll show up to this thing. It sounds like a blast. Like these are people that were on the cusp of like do or die kind of situations of like, okay, I'm gonna put this big investment in and big decisions have to be made here. So like it is an investment, but the return on that investment seems to be for everybody. If you have the inclination to get an ROI, there's no way that you can't. There's just no way that you can't. She sets everything up so different than everybody else too, that, just be prepared to be uncomfortable, but in the best way possible.
Oh, that was something you mentioned that at the beginning when you were talking about the vulnerability and you're like, here, I just laid all my stuff out on the table, like airing my dirty laundry. What did it take for you to be comfortable with that? That's a hard thing to do. And she does expect vulnerability at the event. So if somebody was maybe hesitant to go because they don't want to feel those things, how might you encourage them that way?
So I'll say what a very wise gentleman told me when I told him that I was nervous about vulnerability at Diamond Day because I'm already committed and it is scary. It's always scary. And what he said to me it was Glenn Dawson. He said, yeah, it is really scary to be vulnerable, especially in a public situation. But he said that every time that he's chosen to do that, it's gone really, really well for him. And when it's gone bad, it meant that he was in the room with the wrong people. And he learned from that. And I thought that was so powerful and such a good perspective on that of like, yeah, it's scary and stuff like that. But if you're in the right room with the right people, it's going to be amazing. Like you're going to feel so much better. I think a lot of time it's just that fear that's holding us back. Every time that I've opened up, good things have come from it. When I've been in a situation like this, that it's set up to help you through those vulnerabilities, right? Like holding these fears in close hasn't gotten me closer to the goals that I have in life, right? Like being afraid hasn't gotten me any closer. It's those times that I've been afraid and like stepped up to the edge of the cliff and was like, well, let's do this thing, like there's either water down there or something else. But it's always been good. I've always, those have been the massive breakthroughs that I've had in my life and my career, is the times that felt the most uncertain. Yeah. And I'm not super risk averse either. So I tend to, when I feel scared, I usually push a little bit harder because that's my personality. So, I would challenge anybody else to, if you are scared, to take that risk, because there's a lot of good on the other side of fear. There's a lot of, not ease, but good on the other side. So
I love that so much. What's the next goal for you? Or, and if it's a monetary thing, like you don't have to tell me exactly what that is, but like you hit this goal with Laura. What's your next site that you're setting?
Yeah, so a lot of different things going on right now. Like I said, I'm very, very big on mindset because all the people that I really respect right now just swear by it, right? Like that mindset has gotten them. And I know personally for me that those tend to be the things that hold me back. So there's a big, what does my future look like and what does it feel like is what I'm really leaning into, of kind of that feeling that comes with the goals that I'm setting. So kind of leaning into that and playing around with that. It's very uncomfortable right now of figuring out what you actually want in life, especially as I'm setting some goals for myself that are uncomfortable, especially for an old version of me. So the next goal is 50K for me. Man, it's so funny. At the beginning of this year, I would have never said this, but man, I would love to hit it by the end of this year. And I think that that's a possibility. Maybe that's a really big goal, but every time I set a really big goal, even if I fall a little bit short of it, I'm so much further along than I was before. So 50K, hitting a 50K month is kind of the next monetary goal. It seems more tangible than it did before. Like I couldn't even visualize 10K in January. Like that seemed like I was setting smaller goals because visually 10K was so unfamiliar to me. Like that's kind of money. And now 50K, I mean, it's kind of an arbitrary goal. It's just like that next stepping stone. And I've mentioned this to you before I'm also working on those being stepping stones and not these like ceilings that I'm setting for myself of like, okay, I can picture this. So I'm going to head toward that and see where it takes me. And again, just the future that holds. So I've been really paying attention to like, I don't want to be stuck at my computer all the time, right? Like 50K to me doesn't look like being hammered down. It looks like more like freedom to me of finding more balance, whether that's raising my prices or getting gigs that allow just not sitting here at the computer so that I can go on walks with my dog and like sit under the stars and go on adventures and stuff like that. So it's all encompassing of like hitting these bigger goals, but actually incorporating freedom into those goals and all the feelings around those. So not even just like, oh, freedom, like all the sales letters tell you that you want when you're a freelancer. But like, what does that feel like? What does the work I'm doing feel like? What does my day feel like? Those types of things so that I don't reach these monetary goals and hate my life, right? That's not the point. So, yeah.
That's so good. You hit on so many good points there. Is there anything else you want to share that I didn't ask about working with Laura?
If you have a chance, whether it's one of her free offers or, paying to be at Diamond Day, take advantage of it. She has so much to offer. And like I said, such a unique perspective. And she's an amazing person. But also, this is what I've learned recently is as amazing as she is, she's human. And remember that y'all are both human. And don't put people up on a pedestal because it's uncomfortable for them and it's uncomfortable for you. And if you can take them off that pedestal, you'll get a closer relationship with them. And you'll be real with them, you'll be open with them, and you'll get so much more. Like taking Laura and some of these other people off pedestals and allowing myself to approach them as a friend has just really deepened my relationship with them and my compassion for them as well. And it just opens up a well of like learning and possibility and idea sharing and stuff like that. And again, Laura is just an incredibly insightful person, and just to be around her and get to have conversations with her, yeah, you'll learn a ton. Highly recommend. Again, like I can't even explain how unique her perspective on things is and how she pushes you in such a unique way that I don't see other people doing. The questions that she asks and the ideas that she has are so like weirdly profound and obvious, but like she just brings them out in so many ways. Like every time I've talked to her, she's just said one-liners that I like immediately have to write down and internalize and like become my mantras. So she's just an amazing human being with a lot to give, whether it's business or just like friendship or just being in her presence. She's just an amazing human being, and I highly recommend, whether it's Diamond Day or whatever avenue it is, to being able to interact with her. Like I think good things will come.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Amy. I cannot wait to see you in person at Diamond Day. It's going to be just incredible.
Same. I hope you get to feeling better and the whole family gets to feeling better.
Thank you.